take it back to IU. I went to IU from 2001 to 2005, and I got my bachelor's degree in jazz. At that time, I was a jazz saxophonist. And after getting my bachelor's degree at IU, I came out to LA where I got my master's and doctoral degrees, also in jazz at USC. And it was during that time that my interests really started to kind of spiral. I became interested in a lot of other things besides jazz and besides saxophone. So I became interested in music technology. I became interested in music production. I became interested in pop music. That kind of began a career in orchestration for Hollywood, where I worked in live TV for a while. Ran a mobile studio, a recording studio for kids. And now my career has, at the moment, I'm working in children's entertainment. So I'm a music director and a producer and a songwriter for children's entertainment. And then at the same time, I have a full-time professor job. I have been at my current job for 15 years, and I run a music production, music business, and pop performance program here in Orange County, California. Most recently, I've found my way into this world of kids media, where I've been working as a composer and a songwriter and a producer and a music director. And I ended up in this field because I had been working in Hollywood quite a while, and that's a tough grind. I know everything was like a 2-hour. You had 2 hours or 4 hours to do an entire project, or the deadlines were really short. And I was looking for, a different challenge, some other type of music. It kind of aligned with when I was, I had a kid of my own, and I was like, where's all this music come from? Who's writing this music? So, again, I got curious, created some demos, and found my way into that world. And it's continually grown over the last few years. And what I've learned about entrepreneurship in the process is, as musicians, we're always entrepreneurs, and nothing is going to be handed to us, and there's no really direct paths in music. You're not getting a nursing degree, or you're not becoming an electrician. When in musician, there's nothing direct, so you have to create your own opportunities. And one of the ways I do that is I'm always I start thinking 5 years ahead. So what do I want to be doing in 5 years? And then I backtrack. So what I want to be doing in 5 years informs what I want to be doing in 1 year, informs what I want to be doing in 6 months, informs what I'm going to do today when I get off this call. And so I kind of am always trying to think ahead, plant seeds to what my next step is going to be. So that's the thing about entrepreneurship. You kind of always got to be thinking ahead. And again, I will literally map out as far as 5 years what my next goal might be. And then I backtrack from there. And that kind of informs, again, how I'm going to spend my day, what I'm going to work on this week. So yeah, to be an entrepreneur, constantly be thinking ahead. I think the biggest thing is a deadline isn't really a deadline to me. If somebody says we want this on, next week, I'm going to give myself a deadline that's 4 or 5 days earlier. I really don't like the feeling of rushing, and especially rushing to turn something in that needs to sound good. So I never turn anything in right at the deadline. To me, it's just like, they tell us if you're early to a rehearsal, that's on time, on time is late, blah, blah, blah. It's the same concept with deadlines. It's really important to me to really think ahead. With some of my bigger projects, I'll have big calendars taped to my wall here to make sure I'm doing all steps of the process so I can get everything in on time. I think it's really important to answer emails immediately. I think it's really important to, again, communicate constantly with people. And finally, be kind, be a good person, be someone that people want to work with. Think about how you can be helpful to projects instead of like how this is going to help me. I think, how can I be helpful? What role am I fulfilling? And that's where I put my focus. But again, the biggest practical habit is time planning. And again, starting really, really early so you never feel that rush or pressure at the end. When I was a master's student, I did, someone asked me to do a chart for them. They're like, hey, can you do a chart for me for this band? And I did it, and I did a good job, and I moved on. 10 years later, literally 10 years later, that same guy came back to me and was like, do you still do charts? And I was like, yeah. Well, it turns out that guy was now working with Eminem. So all of a sudden I was doing work for Eminem. He was doing a big festival, Coachella, out here. So all of a sudden I was doing orchestration, string parts. He was like, do you do strings? And I was like, yes, sure. So all of a sudden I was writing string parts for Eminem for Coachella. And then that spiraled, and then I ended up working a lot in live TV in orchestration. So a musical director I worked with a lot, Adam Blackstone, incredible musician, incredible music director. I was on his team for quite a while as an orchestrator. So that's how I got to do the Billie Eilish thing, the Alicia Keys thing, a bunch of Super Bowls. Again, all of that stemmed from me doing something well 10 years prior as a master's student, and him remembering that I did that. And it was a skill I was not trained in. I took an orchestration class at IU, but it was something I was not trained in. I had to learn really quickly, got my butt kicked over and over and again. But it was one of those things where people ask you to do something, and I just said, oh, sure, yeah, absolutely, I can arrange strings. And then I kind of learned on the job, worked my butt off, and that's how all those other pop gigs came about. It was, again, from something 10 years earlier that I had done. Yeah, I mean, I chose USC because I went there at each master's degree, so that's why I ultimately chose that school. I think one of the biggest differences I noticed when I got to LA is it's a more connected saxophone player. I was expected to sight read much more. I was expected to double on flute and clarinet and piccolo flute. So again, it was the music was basically this. The music was basically the same. Students are still playing the same stuff in both places, but it is connected to the TV and the film world more. And when I got here, and I don't know if that's just a sign of the times, but there was more genre blending, I think, going on, because a lot of the jazz students also were interested in pop and stuff like that. So there was a little bit more genre blending, but that might have just been happening at IU as well. It was just that when I left, that's when it happened in LA. So, but that was one of the big, things I noticed when I got to LA. If you're going to be a musician for a living, that's how you want to make your money. You have to think way beyond playing your instrument. That's probably going to be such a tiny part of your career. And so the most successful musicians and the happiest musicians I know do a bunch of things. They teach, they transcribe, they compose, they make charts for people. They have recording skills, they have production skills. Again, I think you need to think of your musical career as super multifaceted, and you have to think, how can I be helpful in a bunch of different areas? And I certainly didn't know as an 18-year-old that loved jazz saxophone, and not only loved jazz saxophone, loved like a tiny little niche of jazz saxophone. I had no idea what a wild kind of journey my musical career would take. I would have never guessed. Like, I haven't touched my saxophone in several months. And before that, several years. Like, it's my saxophone itself is now a really small part of what I do musically. And that's fine. I'm totally happy with where my career has gone. But I would have never guessed at 18 how much my career had changed. And so some advice I have for people who are just starting their careers, couple things. First of all is be a yes person. Be someone that always says yes to new opportunities. So, somebody playing a different genre, playing a different instrument, learning a new technological skill, learning how AI is fitting in. Again, be someone that says yes to as many new opportunities as possible. So again, what you do on your instrument now is just like a tiny part of what probably you'll end up doing. Again, like I told the story about ending up with Billie Eilish, the idea is to play the long game. So we're always we're building our careers starting now. As a bachelor's student, you have already started your career. Your peers know you as someone who's always on time, loves to, make good music, always is positive, or your peers know you as the dude that's always late or the one that's always complaining, or, you're already building your reputation. And a lot of the things that have happened in my career came from connections I made during school. And I wasn't actively, thinking about making connections or building my career. I was just trying to be a good person. So a lot of those, life skills, people will remember you, and they'll remember you for many years. So there's not a point at which your career starts. Your career has already started when you're 18. I think that's it. Be a good person, be on time, be dependable, be kind. Yeah, I think there's something about music school that makes you kind of fierce and pretty tough. There's a lot of competition. There's constant deadlines. If you go to a place like IU, you're surrounded by some of the best musicians in the world, and it can be high pressure. And I think going to IU, it got me used to high pressure environments. The other thing is, when you're a musician and you're practicing, you are the ultimate problem solver and critical thinker. So if I need to work on this one tiny jazz lick, I'm going to come at it, I'm going to play something, go into the lick, come out of the lick. Then I'm going to try the lick in a bunch of different keys, and I'm going to try the lick all over my instrument. Then I'm going to try the lick up by minor thirds, then up by four. We know how to come at things from a bunch of different angles. And I think the skills you learn practicing and getting really good in an instrument, I find that those skills have served me in all sorts of problems, in parenting problems, in, problems I have at my job. It's just being able to look at things from a bunch of different angles and be a critical thinker and a problem solver. The other thing that IU got me and music school got me, it gave me, when you're a musician, you get really used to being uncomfortable. Because if you're practicing and you're practicing well, you probably suck for 80 or 90% of what you're doing, right? When you listen outside of a practice room, people should be struggling. They should sound uncomfortable because that's how we grow. So something about being a musician and being in music school, you get really used to being uncomfortable and working through things. And again, that skill really has served me and other musicians I know. We're better able to face problems because we know that out of being really uncomfortable, growth is usually the next step. Yeah, so my first priority is always going to be teaching and my students. And I think this is something I learned from my teachers at IU. Shout out Tom Walsh, David Baker, Pat Harbison, Luke Gillespie. I realized what an important teacher, what a good teacher is. It just blows me away to this day. What an incredible faculty I studied with. So, my priority is always going to be my students, and when it gets kind of off balance, which it has several times in my career, I kind of have to take a step back and pivot and say, oh, this other thing is taking too much time away from my job or my family. And what motivates me to stay active in all the other areas is I really love it. I get a little bored and antsy if I'm not exploring something new or writing new music or have a new goal. I love having new goals. I love, saying, I think in 5 years I want to be doing this new position and working towards it. So everything I do serves me in some way. I do it because I love it. I do it because it pays well and that allows me to do other things I love. I do it because I know it's helping other people. So again, I really love all the areas in which I work, and all the outside musical projects I have, they really make me a better professor. I think it's really important that I'm involved in the world, then I can come back to my students and have a lot more real world experience. Even though I graduated IU literally 20 years ago, I still look back at that time as completely magical. So I would tell the students there to soak it up. I've seen so many other academic environments and nothing compares to, again, the magic of IU, the faculty there. So all you Jacobs students, soak it up, enjoy it. It's the best.